AMD posted Q1 2025 earnings on May 6 after the closing bell that beat on top and bottom lines and reported better than expected QT guidance. Yet the guidance forecast for QT noted a trade hit of $1.5 billion and plans AI uncertainty. Shares of AMD have whiplashed from a high of around 4.9% and entered negative territory briefly, and are up around 0.5% as of this recording on May 7th around noon. So let's break down the numbers. I have an exciting episode for you all today. I will start with the bullish numbers in the earnings release. I also want to talk about the bearish numbers as well as things to watch. The earnings conference already happened, so I will go over some of the key highlights, especially around data centers, export controls, and the GPU ramp in the second half of the year. It's Sankit Mistry from Mistry Finance with more finance updates and news. Thanks for being here. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button and bell icon so you don't miss a thing about what is happening in finance. Now, I'm not currently a holder in AMD, so I am watching from the sidelines. I am watching closely what AMD has to say about export controls, data centers, and generally macroeconomic activities. Since the start of the calendar year, AMD has declined by around 18.4% and posts a one-year decline of 36.7%. Let's take a look at the earnings release that accompanied the earnings report to get an idea of what is happening with the stock. Now, from the first page, CEO Dr. Lisa Su stated that AMD delivered an outstanding start to 2025 as year-over-year growth accelerated for the fourth consecutive quarter, driven by strength in AMD's core businesses and expanding data center and AI momentum. She goes on to state that despite the dynamic macro and regulatory environment, AMD's first quarter results and second quarter outlook highlight the strength of AMD's differentiated product portfolio and consistent execution, positioning AMD well for strong growth in 2025. Dr. Su also states that AMD continues to invest in R&D and go-to-market initiatives. Now, if we scroll to the next page, you can see that AMD provides a nice little chart. Revenue was $7.4 billion versus Wall Street's estimate of $7.1 billion. These estimates were already elevated, but AMD still beat those expectations by 4%. Revenue had a year-over-year growth of 36%, which is incredible. Earnings per share was 96 cents versus estimates of 94 cents, a beat of 2%. But again, expectations were already high. The year-over-year growth was 54.8%. Operating income increased to $1.8 billion, which is a year-over-year gain of 57%. Net income was also up 55%, and gross profits were up 40%. So scrolling to the bottom of the page, you see that revenue is broken down into segments year over year, with data center revenue increasing 57%, driven by CPU and GPU sales. Client and gaming overall had revenue that was up 28% and was further broken down with client revenue up 68%, driven by AMD's Ryzen processors. But gaming revenue was down 30% due to semi-custom nature of the revenue. The final segment, revenue embedded, had revenue that declined 3%. Also, AMD said that they acquired ZT Systems that will provide expertise in GPU, CPU, and network silicon and open source software. AMD goes on to state that they expanded partnerships aimed at AI and enhanced developer tools and support. AMD said that hyperscalers continue to expand deployments of CPUs to power internal infrastructure and power public cloud offerings, including Oracle and Google. In addition, in the quarter, AMD repurchased $749 million of shares and had a cash equivalent balance of $6.1 billion, which is an increase of $44.6 billion year over year. Continuing to Q2 guidance, AMD expects revenue of around $7.4 billion, plus or minus $300 million, with a 27% year over year growth rate, which is ahead of analyst expectations of 24%. AMD posted gross margins of 43%, and this is part of the reason why the stock has failed to skyrocket. The gross margin of 43% includes approximately $800 million in charges for inventory and related to reserves due to new export controls, as was disclosed in last month's Form 8K filing. If the charges were excluded, the gross margins would be guided at around 54%. This is the dynamic micro and regulatory environment Dr. Su was referring in her opening remarks in the press release. Now, if you're looking to quickly stay on top of financial news, subscribe to my channel for free daily episodes of the Finance Update Daily. Each episode is under 2 minutes with the top 5 or so stories. During the conference call, Dr. Su said that AMD would be able to offset regulatory headwinds, and that included export controls because of AMD's differentiated products. In addition to the $800 million in estimated charges to inventory due to the export controls, Dr. Su said that AMD would take a $1.5 billion revenue hit in 2025 related to the limits on sale of its chips to China. This is also likely the cause of the price action that we are seeing today. Dr. Su discussed the intense competition in the semiconductor industry, supply chain disruptions due to ongoing issues that could have an impact on production timelines. Among the other topics Su discussed included macroeconomic factors, inflation, interest rates that may have an impact on consumer demand. Regarding analyst questions, an analyst asked about AMD's GPU data ramp. Dr. Su said that GPU ramp was in line with and maybe slightly better than expected and on track to launching its MI350 mid-year as planned. Another analyst asked about excess inventory. The CFO said that AMD guided for a severe ramp in the second half of the year for the GPU ramp, but needs to start wafers now, and that is why the inventory increased. An analyst asked that in the last earnings call for Q4 2024, AMD mentioned that AMD expected the data center revenue to be roughly flat in the first half of the year. So if $700 million is taken out due to an impact from China revenue expectations, is it flat for the year? The CFO confirmed, but said that the second half of the year is weighted as AMD launches the new GPU for data centers. Finally, to note, analysts at Citi and Jefferies are expecting revenue for the first half of the year to decline. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you found value in it. If you are looking for deeper insights into other earnings reports, then check out some of my other videos. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.